How's it going, Andrew?
What up, what up?
Been a while since we've got to sit in here and record a podcast.
Yeah, we've been sitting in the foyer for our last two episodes
Right.
of Wisconsin Masonic Center, so it's nice to be back.
Got some really good content out of those, though.
Oh, I really enjoyed those episodes, and it was awesome. And thank you to all the brethren who stopped by and visited us at Annual. It was cool.
Sure.
It was a very memorable annual communication.
That it was. It was very unique and a lot of fun. And it was definitely nice to get to talk to a bunch of brothers, some who I may have talked to in passing or known a little bit better from before, and some who I had never met before.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of it. What's been going on in life, dude?
Not much. Same old. Looking forward to kind of a down month for events in July here.
We've never had a down month.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a degree, but as far as events go, we really don't have anything major going on. We got that Milkman game with OES at the end of the month, but that's everybody buys their own tickets, so
you don't have to have any. You just get to show up to a place. Yeah,
right, exactly. So it's kind of nice to have a month where we don't have any large events going on, because then we kind of hit the calendar hard again come August. So just been trying to enjoy the little bit of downtime in this otherwise crazy year. So
a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, just take a breath, strap in for the second half of the year.
So rest up.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah, I finally got about 75% of the way moved into my house.
Awesome.
Pretty good. I built my office and a new desk today. Ooh. It's fancy. It has a rope light.
Ooh.
So I'm like in the future.
Or in the 1990s.
Whatever, dude. It looks great.
I had a lot of rope lights in my room back in the 90s and early 2000s. So.
Rope lights have never gone out of fad. I mean, are they high class? No. Are they rad? Yes.
Andrew's time traveling in the wrong direction.
No, dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. Got all moved in. Got all my stuff in there. Being a homeowner is a lot of work, dude.
Can be.
My gutters are filled. I need to sort that. Like, everything I look around, I'm like, that's something that needs to be fixed. There's something that should be tidied up.
Well, if you got to clean your gutters, it's a good thing you still got my ladder.
I got another ladder that can get up there, too. It's just not the peaked one.
Right.
I can just lean it up on there. Yeah, you need to come get your ladder, dude.
I do. I need to come get that.
It's next to my desk.
We keep forgetting it's there, or I have too much stuff in the truck to put it in there.
It's fine for now.
So
it's fine for now.
We'll sort it.
Cool. Well, let's hit this bad boy out.
All right.
I don't know what's going to happen when I click this.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
Cool. So I thought for this episode, we might as well just debrief on, we've had a lot of annual communication content. And, we didn't really get to debrief about our weekend because we were so jam-packed with work, guests, and then also participating at annual communication. I thought we could just debrief about what the weekend was like and our experience at annual communication.
Chat about the joys of being in Madison for annual communication. It's always a good time. So including the COVID year when it was virtual, I've gone for 6 years consecutively, which has been... So basically everyone since I got raised. I got raised at the end of August, so I went to the first one I could that following June, even as a non-voting member at that point. In fact, non-voting, virtual, non-voting, voting. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. I've gone 3 years as a voting member and then 3 other ones as non-voting.
Yeah, I've gone ever since I was raised as well. So I had a year non-voting, a year virtual, and then I was a proxy, and then I was back this year. So I've always thought that going to annual communication, regardless if you're able to vote or not, is just something that I think as Masons within a state, you should very strongly consider because, one, you don't have to vote to still be a participant. Like, you can still learn a lot. and enjoy the process and meet brethren from all over your state. It's like Masonic convention.
Right.
What's better than that?
Right, exactly. And it's your opportunity to, especially if you plan on getting in the line at some point, it's your opportunity to start learning the procedures and see how everything works while you're there and kind of figuring out the flow of things. So when you do get to that point of being a voting member, you have a little bit of background knowledge. You understand the system, right? And more than that, there's a lot of different facets to it that we could actually talk about. One of the big ones I feel like is it is that one time a year that you for sure, without a doubt, get direct communication with the Grand Lodge.
Yep.
And you get to hear from a lot of different people that are part of the Grand Lodge. You get to meet a lot of different people. You get to rub elbows with them, but it's the one time for sure that you get to find out in person right away, right off the bat, what the new plan is for the next year, what the new 5-year plan is, all that kind of stuff. And you get to see it all firsthand, and it typically fires you up and gets you ready to go. And I've always liked the fact that the grand year is off kilter from our year. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it annoys me just because I'm trying to remember who did what when. But for the most part, I like it because you have installation in December for the lodges, December or January, right?
Yep.
And then as you push through those first few months of the year, you get to June and you're starting to maybe get a little sluggish, a little worn down, a little, your lodge has been doing a lot. You've been active, and you've had a lot of masonry, and maybe you need to recharge those Masonic batteries. And then, so you hit June, nice little middle of the year, get to recharge those batteries to carry you through, and then you get installation again, which brings you back into the new year, and
then you're recharged because you're like, ooh, new year, new stuff, let's go.
Yep.
It's like a little Masonic vacation where you're like, I'm going to take a couple days off work, and I'm going to go and just hang out with Masons and get, inspired. I was going to say, too, that if you don't go to annual communication, when you're talking about the Grand Lodge actual officers, a lot of them are from all over the state. So you might never get FaceTime to actually know who these people are, except for reading your Masonic journal, which is great, but it's not as personal. And so one thing that's cool when you go to annual is you actually get to see who these people are. And oftentimes, if you're hanging out at various things, you can have an opportunity to chit chat and get to know those brethren, which adds an element of it feels more personal. Like you're like, oh, I actually know these people. These aren't just, names on a piece of paper that I read once a year. And I think that is, you get to meet brethren from so many different places. We were talking with a handful of brethren from Superior. That's the farthest tippy top of the state.
Right.
And, those brethren are not going to be very accessible to you unless you're really well traveled and you're making a lot of effort to go to lodges, which, let's say you're on the lower part of the state, it's pretty hard. You have to plan a whole weekend to go do that. But if you go to Grand Lodge, you can meet people all are coming there. So you can all meet on this middle ground, and, it's unique. It's awesome.
It is very unique. And, outside of the business meeting aspect of it, which I always find fascinating because I like seeing all the different presentations and all the different resolutions that come to the floor and kind of getting a feel for how the brothers feel about certain things and stuff like that. We often talk about, you and I especially, often talk about how the best work happens outside the lodge. That's where real Freemasonry happens a lot, or that's where ideas come up and stuff like that. And what a better place to have just this awesome concoction of Masons from around the state that just create this environment where you can be inspired and have high-level conversations and come up with new ideas and stuff like that, and find out what other people are doing, when you're out afterwards, or, rub elbows with certain people and get to pick their brain, find out what the grand officers are about, what their thoughts on stuff are, interact with all these different people and actually come away with a better understanding of what Wisconsin Freemasonry looks like.
Yep. And we recorded so many interviews, and that seemed like a lot of people, but I talked to 100. I talked to at least 100 more people.
Oh yeah.
And so that's just us trying to capture a slice of what it's like to be there and having so many conversations. And those conversations that we were having on the podcast, we're not even that much dissimilar to a lot of the conversations I was having with brethren that I never met. Hey, it's a classic icebreaker. Hey, I've never met you. What got you into Freemasonry? Like, that's a way to start the conversation. And then going down the windy roads, talking about, when even on the podcast, talking with various brethren about like hobbies they're into and things they've been doing and things they like to do at their lodge for events. Like, those kind of conversations were happening throughout the entire weekend off the mics, just because, brethren like to talk about Masonry and what they're doing. And there's so many good ideas that can come from that, where you can hear about things you've never thought of. And it's really... It does feel like it recharges the old battery.
It does. It does. I get inspired every time when I come home from Grand Lodge. And, it's always my pleasure to meet new brothers. I always really enjoy that. And to have some of those conversations where, they give me some ideas or I give them some ideas. And, there's no such thing as a stolen idea, in my opinion. You might borrow it. You might tweak it a little bit, I typically, if I'm like, hey, that's a really good idea, if you guys are doing that already, do you care if I steal it? But...
What's the thing? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Yeah. But I'm like, if it's a good idea and if it's working, like, why shouldn't more people run with it, right? If you got something going up in the northwestern part of the state that's working, why wouldn't you try to implement it in the southeastern part of the state?
Yeah, you're not really competing for, like, you're not making a competitive event. You're basically in a different world,
Right, exactly. And at the end of the day, a good idea is a good idea, right?
Yep.
And
it'll never be exactly the same either. You'll find that any idea that comes into another group's hands will take its own cultural flair and go in its own direction. And it might have started based on being inspired by an idea, but it'll always take its own kind of life form.
Exactly. And, man, annual is just so much fun. And this is my opinion, of course, and I'm gonna make that very clear that this is my opinion.
This isn't a Diver Fellowship opinion.
If you go to annual and you go to the business meeting and then hang out with your same group of people for a little bit afterwards and then go hide in your hotel room, you're not doing annual communication right. Because the stuff that happens after the business meeting and the getting outside your own box and meeting new people and having and just doing that kind of stuff, it requires mingling. You need to be out doing stuff. That's where a lot of the true value of being there comes from.
It's, and not to be cliche, you get out of annual communication what you put into annual communication.
Right. I get very little sleep when I'm up there, and it's intentional. I mean, it really is intentional, and it's not, I try not to, I try to be temperate to a certain extent, but it's not necessarily about just going out and partying super hard, but it's going out and having those interactions and making the effort to meet new people.
Yeah, it's not about how much you consume. It's about how open you are to socializing.
Yes.
And I've found that your willingness to let the moment take you. So, like, if some brethren are outside and they're talking like, hey, we're going to go over to this place, you should come with, and not being like, well, I'm just going to hang out with my brothers. Like, accept those moments. Like, okay, you know what? I see my brothers all the time. I'm going to go with these brethren who I just met, and I'm going to, go to a secondary location, which sounds scary when you say it like that, but go to a secondary location, and, you meet so many cool people. And I had so many of these, like, I was I remember I got stuck outside talking with brother Chris Lidke for like an hour, and then you came down like, where have you been? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just hanging out with Chris, dude. We're just talking about the Mongolians and history and other stuff. We're just, we're just having a good time, enjoying annuals. So, like, it'll happen that you just have to be willing to just, make friends and have fun.
Yeah, you just got to roll with the moment. I think that's a great way to put it. Just roll with the moment, let it take you where it may, and enjoy that time. And who knows, you could walk away with, one of the best brothers you've ever met who lives halfway across the state, and you guys are going to be lifelong friends from that interaction that began at annual communication. But if you don't give it that opportunity to exist, then it'll never happen, right?
We have our classic annual communication buddies too.
Right.
Where every year you're like, we only see each other here, but
Cruz.
we're stoked that you're here. Yeah. Shout out to Cruz. Like, heck yeah, at least they're here. Let's go.
Well, yeah. And I mean, there's guys that we all have busy lives, right? So, like, I'm not going to be able to get up to Eau Claire all the time, or I'm not going to be able to get out to Madison even all the time, or up to Green Bay.
Or seeing the Watoma boys all in force. That was fun.
Yep. You know, just knowing that you're all coming to this common point, you get to have, you know for sure you're going to see each other there, right?
It's kind of like a family reunion.
Yes. It definitely can be, but much better than family because it's brothers.
Better than the in-laws.
Oh, I don't know if your mother-in-law is going to like that one.
My in-laws are listening. This is a classic dad joke. Don't worry about it.
Oh, man.
No, but it's fun. And I think, like, you know, I would like to encourage strongly to our listeners and anyone who is maybe not in the officer's line, or even just, you know, you're a non-voting officer. Next year, if you've never been, highly consider going.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you have to buy a hotel room, but just take it like it's a vacation. Just budget for it. It's only a couple nights. It's not bad.
Right.
And, you know, you can join in on the block rate for the rooms because they're already there. So you can, it's not too bad. Or you could even, you know, even though I always would say it's the best is to stay at the hotel where all the Masons are. If it's too unaffordable, another fun idea would be getting 5 brothers to get an Airbnb, and then you could have your little brother house and then go out and check out stuff. There's a lot of options, and
I mean, it's
really worth it.
As long as you pick the location properly, you're going to be able to walk to where everybody is. Being at the hotel just seems to be a little more convenient because basically you can just take the elevator back up to your room when you decide you're done.
Yep. Easy peasy. Easy peasy.
But I would agree. It's important for everybody to go. It really is. I plan on never not going. Something crazy would have to come up to keep me from going.
I'm in a similar boat. Honestly, I've enjoyed it more when I wasn't voting because there's you can just kind of do whatever you want. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can just enjoy it however you want. But it's also very fun to be a voter as well, to actually be involved and go up and be able to speak on resolutions is fun too, and kind of, you know, participate in the governance of Wisconsin Masonry. It's a fun and honorable thing, an honor to be able to do that too. Right.
Agreed. I did enjoy, you know, presenting the resolution this year. That was something different outside of my wheelhouse. I honestly, I feel like I came away from that experience. It's one of the critical experiences in my life where I walked away going, I just learned something from this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt very strongly that afterwards, like it just felt like this was a teachable moment, and I'm gonna pull in all the lessons that it just taught me.
You know what was nice about the culture of annual this year, even on the resolutions, the amount of respect the brethren had for one another, even when they were in disagreement.
Yes,
there was like resolutions that were, you know, controversial for sure. But even in the most controversial resolution, the way that the brethren would address their opposition was always in a very respectful way.
Agreed.
A lot of people would say, like, though we disagree, I'm not saying you're unreasonable in what you're asking, but I think, and they'd present their point, and it was always kept in a way that you could easily see how you give people a microphone in a massive room of people, how it could get like sloppy, but it was not the case at all. It was like super respectful. And then when the vote was done, and we'd just be like, well, that's the way she goes. Like, you know, and you're allowed, it goes to prove the fact that we always say as Masons, you are not all of the same mind on everything, but you are still brethren. So you need to say, hey, we're allowed to disagree. And it's good that we do, because it gives us the opportunity to actually have creativity and the ability to say, that we'll have the respect to be heard and to try to, you know, advocate however we feel is best, and then you leave it up to the vote.
Agreed. It was very, very respectful. It was very Masonic, honestly. Nobody got heated. Emotions weren't running high. It was very civil conversation. Everybody understood where the other side was coming from. And even if they didn't make a big deal out of it. So I was very impressed. I was definitely impressed that everybody was able to conduct themselves in a manner that lived up to Masonic tenets.
Yep. And I think that's a great something we should be proud of as Wisconsin Freemasons, because I mean, I don't know if any of them are true, but I've heard stories from other jurisdictions, and sometimes things can get hairy, and it's hard because people are passionate about things too. And so I think it's a good testament to the culture that is within our own state, that is that level of Masonic conduct has, prevailed for another year. And, there's plenty of years to come up. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But each year that I've been there, it's always been good. And I like that.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that very much. And it's great to see brothers come together and actually debate and then let the democratic process work itself out.
Yep, and say all you can do is try to make sure you explain as clearly as you can why you're either for or against, and then leave it up to the brethren to decide based on having... The only thing you can complain about is not having enough information.
Right.
If you're well-informed on both sides of an argument, you make a decision, how can someone be mad? You're like, hey, they have your best interest in heart. They might just not agree with, or they either agree with or disagree with it. But as long as they're well informed, that's all you can do, is give them the information that they need to make a well informed decision. And that's what every brother should strive for as a seeker of light, is to make sure that every brother is as well informed as possible. And, we're going to differ in opinions on various things, but that's okay.
Right. Exactly. And, I would wholeheartedly agree with you on the fact that there needs to be that level of information. As long as people are making an informed decision and they feel like they're making their decision based off of the information in front of them, or that's been presented to them, then I'm fine with whatever decision they make. It's when you get somebody that's absolutely dead set on one way or the other and won't listen to any of the information presented, that it causes an issue. But I don't feel like we had any of that going on.
And I mean, I think that's a good lesson in life in general, and that's something you can kind of learn from even participating in those types of things and seeing that level of respect. Is you're allowed to have an opinion, but it's foolish not to completely understand the opposition point of view. It doesn't mean it's going to change your mind, but you want to make sure that when you're making a decision that you have both sides understood from their perspectives, because if you understand where someone else is coming from, you can have respect and go, I understand why you feel this way, but I don't share that. But the thing is a lot of the times people will make decisions just because they're like, oh, I thought about it once, and that's just what it's going to be. And you'll be like, okay, well, that's how you get manipulated, and that's foolish. You always have to look at both sides, and through understanding both sides, that not only can help you grow because you're able to understand different perspectives, it can help you either flesh out your own opinion more a lot of the time, because then you have to think about, why are you supporting this? And that thought process can be super transformative in the way that it can help you either understand why you're so for it, or maybe it can change your mind. You just never know. And it just depends on each thing. And it's an important thing as Masons, I think, to do that.
Well, the other thing I appreciated this year, because I have seen this happen in years past, is I felt like there wasn't the control of the discussion went really well, in that there wasn't three brothers that got up and said the same exact thing, either in defense of or against a resolution, because we've seen that in years past where one brother comes up and says something, then the other side says something, then the next brother comes up and pretty much says exactly what the first brother said, and it just keeps going, and it's like you're beating a dead horse. And it was good to see that was not occurring this year.
People were adding additional information or coming at it from a different perspective. It was nice too. It was really well organized in the way that they were like, all right, you're going to get 3 people who can come up for, and you're going to get 3 people max to come up against, because we don't need 10 people, because at a certain point it becomes information overload.
Well, or it becomes what I was just talking about, where it's just repetitious.
And it is one of those things where there's a temperance that has to be acquired to receiving opinions, because suddenly if you have 3 for, 3 against, they're probably covering it. And then if you have 10, you're just like, now you're getting just kind of like word soup thrown at you, and you're like, I'm fatigued. I'm mentally fatigued from this.
Can we just vote on this already and be done with it? Yep. Been there.
I think it was really well organized this year, and jurisprudence and the not jurisprudence, our parliamentarian and everybody like thinking ahead. I think they did a good job of really making a well-run meeting that there was not a lot of wasted time. It was effective and it was productive.
No, it was really efficient this year, and unlike in years past where we've gone resolution, presentation, I did appreciate the resolution, presentation, like so that it was broken up. So you weren't sitting there for 2 hours of voting, hearing arguments for and against resolutions and voting on them, and then 2 hours of presentations solid in a row. You know, if you kept changing it up like that, you kept it fresh.
Yeah, it broke it up a little bit, and also then you'd be like, you know, resolution, presentation, here's an education piece. Resolution. Oh, we have another speaker coming out to talk about such and such. And, you know, we had some good speakers this year. We also donated, was it 40 jump bags?
Yeah, I think it was 40 more to the State Patrol.
Yep,
yeah.
and we did 60 last year. We donated 40 jump bags to the State Patrol, which was awesome. Yep. State Patrol was there, came in and received them. I mean,
for our out-of-state listeners, we should probably
yeah.
catch them up on this. So a few years back, the Grand Lodge started a program where we were giving fire suppression tools to local police departments at like a lodge level. And then last year we began a program where we came up with these jump bags that have the square and compass on them and everything else to go in State Patrol cars. And they contain one of those fire suppression tools as well as an AED. So we donated 60 of them last year that are currently running around in State Patrol cars in the state, and another 40 this year. The eventual goal is to have one in every state trooper car in the state.
And for you to understand and if I'm wrong, you know, I apologize. I'm doing my best to remember everything I've learned sometimes. These are insured as well. So if you put them in a car, they will be replaced if they are utilized.
Well, basically,
at least for the fire suppression tools.
Right. With the fire suppression tools, basically, if somebody has homeowners insurance, the homeowners insurance will pay to cover the cost of that being used.
So it's nice. So the ideal situation is that if every car has one, they should always have one.
Yep.
As a tool. And the reason, my understanding is the reason the State Patrol was targeted is because they have the widest net, because they are all over the place.
Right. Well, and they're in some of the most rural areas. If you look at a lot of small town Wisconsin and stuff like that, places that can't afford to have their own police department, they either pay the county sheriff's department to do their enforcement for them in their city, or the State Patrol in some cases will, you know,
kind of fill in there,
be their police as well. So State Patrol responds to a lot of different things, especially in rural areas.
So yeah, it's like when a lot of times when we're thinking of Masonic charity, you'll notice that the smarter guys than me are oftentimes thinking, how can we be the most effective without not having to spend billions and billions of dollars? Like, we're willing to spend the money, but how can we target where we can actually make a difference? And I mean, this program has been notably very successful in the fact that these are being deployed around the state.
Yeah.
Almost monthly, there's another story coming in of a house fire saved, a store saved.
I can't remember how many have been used. I mean, some of them have even been used dynamically in applications they didn't expect them to work in, which is pretty awesome. You know, the officer had the wherewithal to say, well, let's give this a shot and see if it works, you know, which isn't necessarily a bad thing sometimes. And, you know, the program has been impressive, and other states have started to pick up things similar to it. They've tooled it to make it their own in a way at the lodge level, and haven't quite administered it the way we did, but the idea got picked up, and it's kind of a callback to what we were talking about earlier.
No one's stealing it; it's for sharing.
Right. Well, and it's great exposure. Honestly, these fire suppression tools are pretty awesome, which we should probably try to get somebody from Fire Suppression Solutions on at some point.
We
to
promised
talk about.
That we would, so we will eventually. Here we go.
But they're these really cool, like, basically fire extinguishing grenades. For those of our listeners that don't know, you pull the pin, you throw it in. After 8 seconds, it goes off. It uses a certain type of chemical that
snuffs the... Well, it doesn't snuff the air because...
No, it doesn't remove the air. It snuffs
snuffs
the fire. It's not like a halon system.
Yep.
It snuffs the fire out. It's safe for electronics. It's safe for people and animals. It's, safe for all that kind of stuff. It doesn't damage any of that kind of stuff other than what damage it may have gotten from the heat or the fire itself.
Ideally, you wouldn't want to throw it in a room with someone in there. But if you did, it wouldn't be deadly.
Yeah, it would be fine.
Yeah,
right,
it would be fine. So if it was that desperate, you would be like, okay, it's not unsafe. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be in a room that gets blasted with a fire extinguisher either,
but that's the whole point is you're not breathing in something like you would from a fire extinguisher.
Yep.
It's actually a safe compound. I think it has potassium in it somewhere or something like that.
I think I've heard that too, yeah.
But it's a safe compound that knocks down the fire. You're looking at less water damage. You're looking at all sorts of different things. If you don't have to use water, that's primarily having worked briefly in insurance claims. For a restoration company that handled insurance claims, water was usually the biggest point of damage after a fire. It would be water and smoke. More than if the fire got put out, more than what the fire, you could have a small fire and then a ton of water and smoke damage. So, if you can eliminate the water damage from that equation, great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great system, and yeah, we'll definitely have to get those guys, at least one of them on, to talk about it, because I know that they're very proud of the work that they have been able to accomplish through partnering with Wisconsin Freemasonry, and I mean, it's been a win-win. We're all very happy with this program. It's doing good work.
No, it's been amazing, and I want to apologize right now if I butchered any of the technical explanation of that stuff. I probably shouldn't even have gone down that road.
We're not scientists.
Nor are we extremely familiar with the ins and outs of how exactly they work. I know I've heard the presentation a couple times, and I'm just trying to pull it out of my brain. So if I got something terribly wrong there, I'm sorry, but we would definitely love somebody from FSS to come on the show.
Yeah, to correct our errors.
Yes, please.
Cool. So what would you say your 3 favorite things were from annual?
Ooh. That's a big question. All right, I'll answer first and give you the time to prep your answers. Number 1, of course, on my list would be something we already talked about, which is just the opportunity to interact with and meet new brothers and just have a good time. That was very enjoyable. I just like talking to people, this. And so that's probably my favorite part every year. Tied for second would probably be the 2 presentations I had to do, one on the resolution, which as I said earlier, I learned a lot from, and the second one being given Most Worshipful Tom his honorary membership in the low 12. So that was fun. And then number 3, I would have to say I am still extremely honored and humbled about, which was getting elected to the Wisconsin Masonic Journal Board. So that was a big one.
Yeah, it was a good year for you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun at annual this year. It was definitely a busy year. I did love doing the podcast from up there too. I think that's going to have to be a yearly thing.
Oh yeah, that was a ton of fun. My number 1 it's got to always be the same. I remember I was talking with someone about how you don't realize how special Masonry is until you're suddenly friends with 200 people in a room. Like the ability to meet someone brand new and immediately want to talk with them for an hour or 2, just talking infinitely and just have friendship with them. It really goes to show how special our fraternity is and the power of the craft. And I find that going to annual communication is like a stark reminder of that. And that sometimes if you're just buried away only in your lodge, you're like, it's cool, I got my buddies at lodge, but you don't actually realize how impactful the craft is. And I find that every year I'm just impressed with how impactful and unique our fraternity is in building those types of bonds. So that's my number 1. My number 2, I enjoyed sitting at the booth and chit-chatting and playing around and just goofing with people and having people come by to visit us was fun. It was, you never knew who was going to sit in the seat. We were not, just for our listeners, we were not scoping people out. People would walk by, and if they looked too long at our booth, he'd be like, "You gotta sit down or what?" 1 to 2 minute interview, man. I won't even hold you for too long, and we would just entrap them.
Well, and it was exactly that. It was like if they lingered to try to figure out what we were, it was like, we're a podcast. Sit down. Get on a mic.
I mean, sure, there was conversation with brethren around too, where they'd be like, "Oh, right. I've been meaning to stop at the booth," and I'd be like, "Come on down." But it was really, there was no real planning. It was, I mean, nope. Besides being there, it was just as, you know, if someone was hanging around, we'd be like, "Hey man, come on down, let's hear your story." And you know, some of the brethren we knew personally, and a lot of them we just didn't. We were just like, "Hey, you're interested? Right. Pop in the seat and let's talk Masonry."
Well, we got a lot of new listeners and new supporters that I want to say thank you to from that experience. Anybody that found out about us at Annual, thank you very much for joining the fellowship crew.
Yeah, welcome to fellowship, and thank you to everyone who sat down in the hot seat too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And my number 3 most favorite thing was getting to hang out with worshipful brother Bill Reed on his first annual communication.
Yeah, that's right. That
for our listeners, Bill's a longtime member of our lodge, but he was one of the first guests on the annual communication episode 1. He usually had to work. He was president of the St. Andrew Society, or was it the Highland Games?
The Highland Games.
He's involved in both, but he always had a conflict, so he was never able to make it. So this was his first year, and he's also going to be moving out of state shortly, so it's kind of like the last time we could steal him. So I really enjoyed just hanging out with Bill and, you know, having him peruse through the longest whiskey list he could find to find the best whiskeys. Yeah, I enjoyed hanging out with Bill when we were there, too. So that was my 3rd one.
Bill's a great hang. I always love it when I get to spend time with Bill.
Yeah, the classic Passmaster hang.
Yep.
It was a good time. But yeah, those are my 3.
Awesome.
You want to move on to some news and events since we haven't been able to inform people for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's summer, so things are probably a little bit slower, but let's do some.
All right, time for some news and events.
News.
So the news I have for you guys today is that Rock River Lodge actually presented an AED to the Hustaford Community Hall. So we were talking about those AEDs earlier with those jump bags, and one big initiative that Wisconsin Masonry's done for probably a decade or more.
Yeah, more than that. AEDs in schools and stuff. Yeah.
Yep, in the communities. So they were able to raise enough money from the sports raffle and matching through the Wisconsin Masonic Foundation to be able to provide the community hall an AED for their safety.
Awesome. That's a good job.
Yep, it's very cool. Another way that we're helping out in the community. Up to events. So, what's going on in the next couple of months? Like Matt had said earlier, summers are a little bit lighter. So, coming up in July, Lake Country Freemasons Lodge number 42 is doing their 21st annual Pay It Forward golfing outing at the Legends of Brandy Brook in Wales, Wisconsin.
Struggles over there.
Brandy Brook. So this is a great event. It's a fundraiser. And for more info, just reach out to Lake Country Freemasons Lodge. On July 20th, Buffalo River Lodge is having their 9th annual golf outing. So lots of golf happening. It's going to be at the Hickory Hills Golf Course, which is in Eau Claire. I said it right. You heard it here first. Registration is going to be at 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. A shotgun is going to start the event at 12:30 p.m. It's going to be a 4-person scramble. So it's going to be $85 a person. And for
Wait. I got to interrupt for a second. Does it actually say a shotgun's going to start the event, or does it say shotgun start?
Shotgun start.
Yeah, they're not actually shooting off a shotgun. Well, it's a method of starting things.
Tickle me bummed. You know, I'm just doing what I can, man. So, anyways, there's a 4-person scramble. It's $85 a pop. And for more info, just reach out to Brother Larry Dranksviet.
If I'm wrong and you guys do actually shoot off a shotgun to start it, please let us know, because I will stand corrected.
What's a shotgun start?
I don't know. I've heard the term thrown around, but I'm not a golfer.
Well, if any of our listeners can let us know, I'd appreciate it so I don't make the mistake again on the air.
This guy doesn't golf.
So anyways, you can reach out to Brother Larry Drangsviet, otherwise, or Dwayne Sokolowski. So that's a fun golfing event. They're going to start with a shotgun or something, and it's $85 pop for a 4-person scramble. On the 24th of July, we have the 11th annual Collins Spring Valley Golf Tournament. Golf coming on up. It's going to be at the Hammonds Golf Course. So you could have a couple of golf days in a row. It's a good idea. It's going to start at check-ins at 11 a.m. It's going to start at 12 p.m. It does not tell me if there is a shotgun or not, so we'll just leave that as it is. But please RSVP by July 19th with Brother Jeff Olson. On coming into August, we have on August 3rd the 4th annual Wisconsin Widow Sons Charity Ride. Proceeds are going to be benefiting the Grandmaster's Appeal. You can reach out to them for more info. On the 7th through the 10th, the Midwest Shrine Association 2024 Summer Session is being hosted by the Zor Shrine in La Crosse. And on the 8th of August, we're going to have the Columbus Lodge number 75 Pete Lee Live. It's going to be $20 at Cressel Ridge Golf Club. You can get more info for that by calling Bill. So you can find more info on that. That's the only info I got in front of me. And last but not least, on August 15th, North Star Lodge number 187 in Star Prairie is having their annual Oxcart Days street dance. It's going to be from 4:30 to 10 p.m.
Also on August 3rd, the Masons of Lake Lodge 189 and the III Jolly Badgers are hosting a Masons Go to the Fair event. Since Bristol Renaissance Fair stopped doing group rates post-COVID, we've just kind of changed it to a show up and let's go to the fair, and hope you run into a bunch of people and stuff. There will be more information forthcoming soon about that. We usually try to meet at the main gates right before they open, get a big old group picture if possible, and stuff like that.
So yo ho ho, don your finest pirate attire. Also, I'm just remembering, I need to reach out to the journal and get some stuff put in here. Also, Lake Lodge 189 is on the 29th of August is having our Lux Golf social event. That's going to be on the 29th, but please RSVP by the 19th of August. And you can send that to Brother Ethan Rosenlund. You can find his information in the journal, and we'll get it out there in people's hands.
Right.
And it's going to be Lux Golf. So if you've never heard that, it's like, I don't want to call it golf bowling, but it kind of has the same vibe.
Top golf. It's, you're just heading for targets and stuff like that. I'm going to go swing a golf club for the first time in probably 20 years, so that should be interesting.
It's super casual. There's food, there's drinks. It's a good time, so definitely consider coming by. It's going to be $15 a person.
Right, which does not include food or beverage.
But we will have an appetizer in each bay.
That's the plan,
Yep, cool. Awesome. Well, good to debrief with you on that long and fun weekend, man.
Oh, that was a great weekend. Can we go back?
I wish. But anyways, reminder to our listeners to please follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yep.
And X. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it for socials. Also, make sure you are rating and subscribing to the podcast on whatever platform you listen to it on. If you want to leave a comment there, that would also be great. The more ratings we get on stuff like Spotify and things like that, the more it helps push us out into people's searches and everything else when they're looking for something Masonic. So
cool. And if you ever want to email us, you can hit us at
timeforfellowship@gmail.com.
Awesome. Everyone have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy.